My name is Mark. I'm a social worker at Cincinnati Children's with our Neuromuscular Center. I'll be your humble moderator today. Just some housekeeping before we kind of get this started. Really just want to set kind of the expectations and the tone just about this session, kind of challenge you of how to use it. And really, I think most of us are on the same team here. I don't think we're going to have a problem with this. But I do just want to make sure that we're approaching everybody from a place of mutual respect. And so what that can mean is just patience. And in particular, no laughing unless it's obviously a joke. Nobody knows how serious this is going to get. It might just end up being fun. I think controlled chaos and just kind of going with the flow, probably something a lot of you guys are used to. So just try to be respectful throughout. And this is kind of a me thing, but just this is your time. And I think it's important to really recognize the value in that, because everybody here has something useful to say just because you are you. Your perspective immediately adds value, so don't feel like you don't have anything but used to say. And at the same time, try to find something in here that you can take home with you. So that could be like a phone number from a friend, I don't know, maybe just an idea that kind of like provokes thought. Could be practical, could just be personal, but just be on the lookout. So with that, we'll get started. If the panelists want to introduce themselves, just kind of a brief background, and at the end, just give like a fun fact or kind of like a hobby that you think would be interesting for other people to know, or just that you have fun with. So we do.
Hi everyone, I am Kierra. I am currently 17 years old. I turned 18 in December. And I am a full-time high school student, but I'm currently doing an internship before my senior year. I am running a radio/TV station for all patients staying at the Big Children's Hospital through the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. And I am planning on applying to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And I think I'm going to be a major of communications with a specialization in public relations. And I have collagen tips. Fun fact about me, I actively play Dungeons and Dragons. If that is fun.
I'm Greta Sanchez. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm 18 years old, and I was the manager for my high school football team.
I'm 26. I'm from Berkeley. I work for a luxury company from scratch. I'm a past reader. I finished a book in like 2 days, so like 400 pages. I'm in Greta. I'm a college student. This will be my senior year. I live in North Carolina. I'm currently going to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I have neuromuscular.
Again, I'm Berger. I'm 33 from Cincinnati, Ohio. I have politics, and a fun fact is I love going to concerts and live music. So.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jake. I am 33 years old. Pronouns are he, him, his. For those of you who may have questions about sexuality, I'm also gay. Fun fact about me, well, 2 fun facts. I work for Snapchat, that's their office. And also another fun fact is I actually was, I've been abroad for work. So two things. I'm currently at my family's house in my cousin's house in Europe. And last week I was with people I met at the CMD conference. And we connected and I went and hung out with them. So in Madrid. So I have college in 6 and I have the intermediate form.
So yeah, I think that naturally leads into kind of a first line of thought. The theme would be activities, hobbies, in particular inclusion. So do you feel included in the activities that you do take part in? Are those activities the same as your little body peers? Just kind of what does that look like in your life? I think we'll just play it free flow because I don't know if you follow.
So I guess I'll go first. I am very active in my school community. I mainly do theater and jargon and stuff like that. But I am the first wheelchair user to even go through the 3 schools I've been to, my elementary, middle, high school. I'm the reason why they had to install actual curb ramps because I wasn't able to just walk across the parking lot to get to the baseball fields at my school. They had to put in the actual ramps. I'm also, I believe, the reason why, actually, I think I am the reason why we have a lift backstage at our theater now. And I will say when it comes to activities, it is going to be rather difficult. There is going to be a lot of self-advocacy because you don't know how many other disabled individuals have come before you in these activities. Do they know how to work? Do they know how to accommodate you? Do they really know how to make sure that you can actually help and participate instead of just being kind of a face that's on the sidelines? So definitely try to do research or make friends or talk to any type of faculty or staff at whatever activity place you want to do and talk to them directly, because there might not be another way for you to be able to find out what you can do and how you can improve stuff so that you are able to do it. Because one thing that I have learned from my school experience is that it is so important that you do get involved, because that way more opportunities will come up to you and you will be able to find out what you like. Especially when it comes to your job, future in life. You have to find out what you want to do with your life necessarily. And the only way to do that is to experiment. So if you are interested in something, get involved. For example, I did cheerleading and horseback riding for 7 years, all because I saw the girls and I was like, hey, that'd be fun. And then I started cheerleading up until the 7th grade, from kindergarten all the way through. So definitely look out and keep in contact with people who you know are directly associated with what you want to do, because it is not easy per se, but it can be very, very simple to get involved if you know and talk to the right people necessarily.
So I think I'm picking up themes of communicating, being involved, and just kind of putting yourself out there. Anybody else want to talk on that?
Yeah, same with me. Again, talking about being a manager for my high school football team. I was we got like in contact with like the teams ever since since I've been in fifth grade, and I've been not doing football ever since then up to my senior year. And all I had to do really was like just it was like the teams and everything, so I could get involved in football. I really love sports and everything. So and another thing I like to do is play video games. That's another thing I like to do. And
Kierra, the Kierra from having connections and maintaining those connections is really important. Yeah, it could be make connections to keep those connections.
And it sounds like a lot of people really put themselves out there to, get caught in the current of things as they happen. But I mean, in my own work, talking to people, putting yourself out there is really hard.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, and I think others might be interested. Did you notice any kind of specific moment, or did you have any particular support in place that kind of helped you turn on that sort of self-advocacy switch, so to speak?
Well, I will say self-advocacy and like putting yourself out there is honestly not for anyone, because both inside and outside the like disabled community, you're gonna be introverted. You're not gonna want to go out. You're just gonna want to hang out and do your own stuff. But one thing that I found is after I started like going out there, I started finding out what I do like to do alone, whether that's video games or read or write or stuff like that. And I think that switch was when I joined I did my first musical. It was a summer camp. It was a week-long camp, and then we put on a 30-minute show at the very end. And the thing that kind of flipped the switch was there wasn't a ramp or lift to get onto the stage. This was a kind of old community theater. And so I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to perform, or I'm going to have to sit in a desk chair and have them wheel me around on stage. And then we worked our way around it. And I brought my rather light travel wheelchair, and I performed in that because the staff was willing to pick the wheelchair up and put it on the stage and help transfer me. And I think that was the moment when I realized I can actually advocate for myself, and people are willing to listen and help me. And that's another thing, is that thankfully, most people are willing to listen and help you necessarily, but there are going to be some people that are either like, we don't have the time, we don't have the money, or we don't have the resources. Yeah, ignore them, kind of just push those guys off to the side, because the majority of people are willing to listen and help you. So I think my moment was when I realized that there are people willing to help me live a relatively active and happy life, I guess.
Yeah, so self-advocacy is, also, let me speak for myself, it's a continued practice. The reality is there are situations where it's easier, there are situations where it's harder. I'm very extroverted, but this little secret, because of, I think, my experiences with my disability, there are many situations where I don't feel comfortable, I don't feel safe to get what I need, ask for what I need, meet people in the way I would like to meet people. So there's a couple of thoughts that I have. One is continue to challenge yourself by putting yourself in situations that you may not feel comfortable with. And if you're not the personality type to go out independently, because to go up to somebody, and there's a lot of reasons, it may not even be because of your personality, it's a height differential, for instance, sitting in a chair. Say, hey, to a friend, I want to go somewhere, I want to try to meet some people, I want to try and do something, but I need that buddy, the buddy system to, I get my energy because often my friends, And so if you have a person to join you, you can try something, you can go meet people, and guess what? If you fail, you have a friend there with you to laugh about it with. And so I think that, you know, it's important to make sure that you continue to challenge yourself to get more comfortable for being your own advocate, but it's okay if it doesn't work every time. And it always feels good when you have somebody there with you who goes, we tried.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to take away two things from that because I really like that. The buddy system really stood out to me, just kind of my social work lens a little bit, because there is a difference between being unsafe and uncomfortable. And I usually kind of throw it out there as thinking of that as, are you kind of like tearing a little bit or are you stretching? Because if you're stretching, ultimately that leads to more comfort in the end. But if it's beyond that, then that's a little bit more danger territory. So definitely still think about safety, exactly like you said, have a support. If it's a situation that needs talking out, feel comfortable talking to parents, do that. But don't put yourselves in danger, but challenge yourself. And there is a distinction. So that's my spiel on that. And that I heard people not realizing that you have a problem. And I think that goes back too to just your perspective having value, because I can speak for myself as an able-bodied person, I don't see all the challenges. That's why I'm a listener and try to learn from you guys, because I just don't know what you guys don't tell me on that. So you're exactly right. Sometimes just assuming that a problem will always stay there might just be because nobody's ever asked.
So well with what Kierra and Jake were saying. For me, I guess it's just trying to do the normal things when I'm out and about. So like if I'm at the grocery store, like, hey, can you help me reach that? Or if I'm you know, need a door open somewhere, just trying to have your voice and know that it's okay to like ask for help for other people. And most of the time we are willing. So it's just being able to take that step to actually ask for help if you need it and using your voice to get the things that you need.
But, you know, to that point of being broad, I've traveled a lot. I love travel. I used to actually make trips for people with disabilities to go travel. And I would say, you know, you have to expect the unexpected. You have to expect to not be able to do everything you want to do. But, you know, but I don't think that like what is prescriptive for everyone means that you're not going to have a good time. So, you know, for instance, I'm with my uncle, my cousins were younger, and I said, oh, like, here's a good tourist opportunity. Let's go see there. And, you know, I knew I couldn't do every hiking trail, but I saw there was a really good arts and crafts area that they were making bracelets from sheep fur. And even though I couldn't do the hike, I thought it'd be really fun to get everybody really razzled and get everybody excited about that. And we made it fun. It's not necessarily, you know, exactly what able people may be doing, but I made it fun, and I was in a cool environment doing it. The technology I use is so important because the world is not designed for us. And so when I travel, I sort of have my checklist of okay, what do I need to do if there was ever a moment in time where I'm not going to be with somebody? And how would I be able to be independent to do, you know, go see something, go grab a coffee, go out and about, be able to get back safely. And so I make a mental checklist of what I can bring with me. And I take that technology to enhance my experience, both with people, but also independently. Like today, for example, we were at a park and the park was not designed to be accessible. So it took us longer to get out of the park. And that was a part of the experience, but it was a part of the experience of, you know, saying, all right, well, that's the weekend exit to the gift shop, then let's figure it out. And that's part of the journey.
When I just went to Nike, I moved up here, for different ones, with my family. I purchased my mobility scooter, because I don't have a wheelchair van, which is for my long-term wheelchair. And I'm always traveling with someone at the school. But something that we did is fun when we went to the beach in Florida, and we used a beach wheelchair to go on the sand and in the water, which was a really fun experience for me, to be able to feel that in the ocean. And I thought that was fun.
It's like an all-terrain wheelchair.
It was made for the plan. It was just basically a metal chair with big plastic wheels on it, and someone had to push me. I couldn't do it on my own, but it was so fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I definitely use technology. Whenever I go anywhere, I'm always Googling to see if it's accessible and doing street maps. Like, is there a step? Is there multiple ways in? What is parking look like? You know, doing all of the things to use it. So Google is definitely my best friend to help save me from, you know, throwing it somewhere and knowing that, hey, I can't get in, or oh, maybe, you know, you gotta figure it out. So I definitely rely on that, and it's like calling businesses to see if I'm able to get in, and, you know, doing all those extra steps to try to make life easier for going out and about.
Yeah, it's kind of be proactive before you even start.
Yeah,
Checking.
yeah, it's hard to think about all the things beforehand, it's like you're gonna go out and have fun and do all the things, but definitely doing that beforehand, prep helps when doing that, so.
Sometimes what you're listening to me, but I also think it's important to be flexible and use technology to help. You know what I mean? Like, if something doesn't go your way, there's always something that can go differently.
And I think that ties back nicely into what you said, Jake, too, about just making those challenges part of the experience, where it's not different from the fun. That can be part of the fun if you kind of work it up from that angle. So it's still an extra step, and something that I definitely want to reflect back is I think every one of you has mentioned a checklist. And I'd be really curious what it would look like if you compared your checklists to your friends. Because that the length of yours compared to theirs might give them a better sense of kind of what's going on in their minds. And with that, thinking about shortening the checklist, I really like the idea of kind of like life hacks. So I don't know if anybody has any of those that they can share to make things easier, or any kind of tech that you've made yourself.
If you have like black armrests like this, which I think all of us do actually. Try to find someone who can custom make covers that you can put on your wheelchair, because if you're out in the sun for a long time, it gets hot. And one of my great aunts actually made covers that I put on this, and they were like a really nice fabric, and they managed to stay cool all day. Either do that, or you can place like a towel under your seat, so your butt doesn't get hot when if you ever transfer out of your chair and then your chair sits in the sun and then they put you back on and all of a sudden you don't have a butt anymore because it got burned off. But definitely be very cautious about making sure that like your chair is the way that you want it to be, and make sure that there's no reason why you can't use it in case it physically hurts you. Because sometimes my joystick gets too hot from being in the sun that it like kind of like hurts to touch it, like touching a hot pan. So definitely find something that you can like put on it, or this actually goes for any type of surface that you're touching, because we can't physically get away from it. Like if someone sits down in a hot chair, they get to stand up again, but we can't really do that, and we might be on it for too long that it like really hurts. So be conscious of like what surfaces you're touching and like covering stuff like that, so that you don't possibly hurt yourself in case it's something that's actually like dangerously hot. That's a fun fact that I learned, but I need new pads now. So definitely be careful, especially if you have leather armrests. Try to cover stuff up, unless you're going to be in the chair all day, and then I guess it doesn't necessarily matter because like you're covering the chair, so the sun can't beat down on it. But definitely be careful either way.
I think I'm not sure, but because I'm also use Schmertmann, so when I don't have hot chairs, yeah, so it is towel, anything that you find.
Stepping it back into kind of mindsets, what did it look like just in terms of you starting to incorporate more technology into your lives? Was that a challenge for you to accept? Did you welcome it? Did you immediately kind of recognize its value? Just what did that kind of journey or experience look like for you?
I wasn't, when I first, so I wasn't able to walk at first for a long time. And I was reluctant to transition to using my mobility device full time outside of the house. So I know that was a challenge for me. The same thing with I need a ventilator at night for sleep, and anytime I lay down, and that I also did not like wearing, but I refused to wear it when it was first offered to me. But then a few years later, I ended up really using it when I couldn't put it off any longer. So yeah, it was a struggle for me to accept that I needed to make some changes in how I got around. But that was okay. That was fine, and that was how it was going to be.
I think for me, it's definitely embrace it, even though sometimes change is hard to kind of stuff. Maybe, you do something new that you maybe had the ability before, but now you don't. You kind of, a little shattering, but I think definitely that makes your life easier day to day. Maybe you don't run it off at first, and try it out. If it does help you or improve the things that you do daily to make, it easier, I think, why not? Try new things to make life easier. Yeah.
And like, the thing is, you do have to try to kind of find that light in the darkness, because it ultimately does make your life a lot easier. I love my wheelchair now, but I had to face the reality that as soon as I start using this to go to school, I'm never walking again. But now I have a lot of pros. If someone makes me mad, I can run into them or run them over. I can raise up and down so I can be on the same height as my friends. I'm not stuck permanently, like having to crane my neck in order to see. I have a cup holder, so I don't need to carry stuff anymore, even though my family makes me eat the cat mule. And same thing with my BiPAP. I honestly was really embarrassed to use it at first. I don't even know why, I was just being stupid. But I had the realization that now I can pile as much stuff on top of me as I sleep as possible. Like, I sleep in a literal cocoon with like 5 things on top of my head, but I can't suffocate during the night because I have a literal scuba mask over my face. So now I call my BiPAP the snorkel, because I can just like kind of snuggle into my bed and not have to worry about anything. So it is definitely like kind of a bittersweet type thing, because you're losing one thing but gaining another, and the thing that you're gaining is ultimately going to be more important over the long-term course of your life than what you had before necessarily. So definitely be like mindful, and if you need someone to talk to them. It's a lot of like processing, I guess, but ultimately in the end, it is like using technology is for the better. But there are like alternatives, so you don't have to feel pressured to do anything you don't want to. Like, it's ultimately your choice in the end. But definitely understand that there are pros and cons to literally every single thing of technology that you might use.
You know, I didn't get my diagnosis till I was 28 years old. And so growing up, I actually didn't know what was happening with my disability. So it wasn't like I ever like had a clear direction of what was going to happen. And so when things would be presented to me, it was just always this like big, oh no moment, now this. And so one of the things that I had to retrain my brain to do was, and what I'm going to say is, it was an incorrect thought, which was every time I would add something to my regimen, we'll say, I always like, my immediate thought was, oh, that's going to make me look more disabled. And this weird, really funny mentality of, oh, I think something's going to make me look more disabled. Well, fun fact, I'm disabled. There is no such thing as, more disabled. I am disabled. And I had to shift my thought process around that, because what I was telling myself was that being disabled was not a good thing. And now being on the other side, I can say my disability has actually helped me in my career and being more transparent and more understanding of so many different things in the world. So when it comes to equipment and the acceptance process of it all, I can only advocate that it's not actually in any way actually making you more disabled, nor is it making you more abled. But what it is doing is it's making you more independent. And so when you think about that, when something is being added into your life, there's probably going to be a moment of, I feel sad. Oh, I have to take this on. Oh, this feels like another thing. But you have to think big picture of what it does for you. And so what it does for you is it makes you independent. It makes it possible for you to do more than you were doing, or do the things you can for as long as you possibly can. And so taking on new equipment, well, I understand there is challenge behind that. I'm not always perfect. Some days I'm just like, I can't use this today. I'm having a bad day emotionally. That's okay. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. But what I do is I think about on those days, what is its purpose for me and what does it allow me to do? And my big picture line is I'm moving towards being independent. And it's not about being more or less disabled. It's about being the best version of myself.
Sounds like being kind of goal oriented and thinking of technology as just a tool to reach what I want to do.
Yeah, technology doesn't define you. Technology allows you to be you.
I do want to kind of switch to a different topic, but I think there's still a lot to talk about here. So just kind of a final prompt for you all. Just what would your advice be for people in those moments where, maybe they're thinking like fully committing to being a full-time wheelchair user, or just trying to integrate another piece of technology into your life? Because it can be really difficult to see, as you said, Jake, that kind of bigger picture when you're caught up in the emotions of the moment. So what would your advice be for people who are kind of in that emotional moment that you think could help them see that bigger picture and maybe reach acceptance faster?
If you tell yourself you have one less thing to worry about, that helps. So that's not whatever it is after surgery.
Yeah, it's kind of remembering that trying it out isn't a full commitment to using it forever, and that you can always think of something else if you really don't like it.
And ultimately, eventually, it will get to a time where all of this might actually be temporary. Because I guarantee you, if I just spend 10 hours a day or something working out, I could probably be able to walk again. But I don't have that time, and I'm kind of lazy. So I'm just going to stick to using my power chair for now. But most of the time, it might be a permanent change. But if you try hard enough, it's always temporary, especially once you get better treatments and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point to bring up. If we had all the time in the world, we could possibly maybe advance or get subtle improvements, or turn back the clock of there are some mobility that can increase. And I think that's, as you go into adulthood, that there is that challenge, balancing your life and balancing what you're able to do. And I think that why I love that point was brought up is that it comes to be a hard discussion with yourself. What is the thing of your body that you're able to maybe even sacrifice a little bit to be able to do so much more? Because you don't have 100% of your time allocated to just focusing on your body, nor should you, because you are so much more than just your disability. You are creatives, you are thinkers, you're imaginative. And so I think that dialogue is very personal, it's emotional. And so I think that one thing that I advocate is, so I have a therapist weekly. Focus on your mental health, understand understand who you are and who you want to be in the world, and understand what are your I must do's, what are the things that are out of your control, and what are the things that are within your control, and waver on that personal discussion. And I don't think that anybody should feel obligated to do that on their own. You have a community of friends your age who are going through the same things. You have this community, you have mental health professionals, your doctors, and so you're not alone in that journey. And just to point out, when I went to Madrid last week to visit somebody that I met at the CMD conference, well, I'm much older than his daughter who has college in 6, but I was there to hang out with the father. Now we're closer in age, we have our shared life experiences, and his daughter is in a different point of her life, so she wants people around her age. And So there are different people that have different perspectives too. So it's just building that boundary of having these dialogues with yourself. And I think that just knowing your mental health is also dependent on making sure that you have a community in your army.
But I was gonna say, just learning from others that have already been through it. Say like, oh, I'm looking into this power chair, this or that, or whatever it may be. Just knowing that someone else that's similar to you has been through that as well, kind of helps to motivate you to be like, well, they did this, and that worked for them. Maybe that can work for me. You know, just hearing it from others, kind of have to be that push to really commit or want to do that.
It's kind of coast in the wake of others. You don't always have to be a trailblazer.
Yeah.
And then again, there's nothing wrong with being disabled. Like, the only people who have a problem with it are able people. So honestly, when in doubt, you do you. Because that's the only thing you really can do in life. Besides, you know, winning an Oscar or winning a Grammy or creating $1 million record label / merchandise company that literally made merchandise for the biggest future project of all time. Like, when in doubt, being disabled is a part of you, and it always will be. But then again, it's like not too big of a deal, I guess, because the only thing it really changes is how you get around, how you function daily in life, like eating and drinking. But then again, you can also use it to your advantage to kind of show people, hey, stop being an idiot. Like, if I can do this, you can kind of do it too, I guess, not in the sense to be inspirational, but in a sense to be, we're all like different in our own ways, and that anything is possible if you do try hard enough, especially if you focus on your mental health and your, like, what you want to do necessarily.
Just kind of wrap that up with my own thought. It just seems like you guys are all really talking about a strengths-based approach of just thinking, not really focusing on the limitations or anything like that, but shifting it to look at what am I good at? Because there are probably a lot of answers to that question. And so I kind of want to zoom the focus out a little bit, because I feel like we've been kind of really focusing on thought process, finding your experiences. What about other people around you? So now I kind of want to talk about friends. And just to start off, if you could share just what your friend groups look like, interactions with them, are they able-bodied, do they have disabilities?
I had 2 friends who have empathy. One I know really well, and one he does live in the state where I live, but I don't really see him much. But I play video games with him a lot. And then I have a friend. He's in the Marines right now. I'm actually gonna see him when I get back home. So.
I'm an extroverted introvert, so I have like 4 people who I actually talk to, except it's not really a friend group. It's just, oh, hey, these are people who happen to be my friends. And I don't think I'm actually genuinely like friends with another disabled person in real life, unless you count like autism or ADHD, stuff like that. But most of my friends are actually online, like the ones who I actively talk to and reach out. All of them I've befriended through Discord or Twitter or something like that, or I play video games with them and we just keep in touch. So my friend group is a bunch of strangers on the internet. I don't even know their real names, but I feel like I'm closer to them than I am to some of my real life friends. But I have a relatively small friend group and I just bounce around.
I imagine social media has probably helped, even if it might scare parents sometimes.
Yeah, same with me. I've met a lot of people online too, and I'm good friends with them.
Yeah. Also, any of you decide to ever have kids, do not let them have free access on the internet until they're 13. My parents made that mistake with me, and look at how I turned out. And I like K-pop and Dungeons and Dragons. Don't do it.
I have a pretty small, I've always had a small friend group of like people that I would see regularly from school and the community. And then for other disabled people that I know have been mostly an online friends. Because there are, I don't really know anyone that really close in my area and that friends that do hours away or something. So, yeah. I went to a school for people with physical disabilities. So most of my friends are disabled. I do have a handful of the able-bodied friends. But most of my friends are.
Yeah, I would say most of my, like in real life, like people you see regularly are able-bodied, and a lot of the programs used with SD people are virtual, because we're all spread out everywhere. That's kind of a little bit of a.
Okay. So what would you say to others who are maybe struggling to find positive friendships?
Making friends is just challenging, and that has nothing to do with being disabled. That's just life. And then when you get out of grade school, it gets even harder because the reality is you don't have something that brings people every day together to see you in person and spend the time to get to know each other. So there is no magic wand for this. There are a lot of times I feel loneliness, but there's also a lot of times that I have really good friends to rely on. And so I think that a lot of people saying, oh, I don't have that many friends. That is perfectly okay. Because friends isn't a numbers game, it's a quality game. And quality of friendships means that friends can be different things for you. You can have the friend that is the friend that you talk about, certain things with, and the friend that you do certain things with. And so, not one friend has to be everything for you. To that point of, we now live in a really cool digital age where, you can find people through the internet. You can, find people through school, through work, through other friends. And, friendships take time to develop and nurture, and sometimes they even, degrade as well. And so just, thinking about with the challenges of friends, especially if you have friends with people that are abled, you can't expect everyone to get and know everything about you. And so that's why it's so good to say, what is this friend good for? And to not set expectations on friends too high, but to put expectations on, does this friend give me what I need in the way that I need it? And if they can give you more than one thing, that's fantastic. If they can give you one thing, that's also okay. But I think it really is important to go, people can add value to your lives for a variety of reasons. and you know, and the quality of friendship ebbs and flows, and it's okay. Like, you know, one of the things that I'm doing for the first time in my life right now is I'm living on my own for the first time, and I'm having a lot more loneliness. And one friend I'm trying to get to know more is myself. And so, you know, I think that it really comes down to, it's just, I have friends that I know I can lean on for certain things, and I have friends that I know I couldn't lean on them for certain things. But knowing who you find, using all the resources that are out there to get to know people, take those risks, like we talked about earlier, and having your buddy system to do it, but being safe doing it. And I think that just knowing that friendships are always evolving, and there's gonna be times of you feel like you have all the fun things and fun people in your life, and there's gonna be times where it's a little bit more loneliness, and that's why you want to just also practice being a friend with yourself too.
I don't know if this will help as much for people in the room, but it feels like making friends when you're really young really helps, because like other people don't really see you as different when young. So, and I was able to create friendships and keep friendships ever since elementary school.
That's true. Kids do tend to start from acceptance. Just always, really.
And then again, you're always going to have more acquaintances than actual friends. Because one thing that I do a lot, and I actually did it today, is I find something that I have in common with someone, and I get their number or social media or whatever they have, and I just hope that I keep in contact with them. Because one thing that I've noticed is that if someone and I don't click, or if they're not actually interested in being my friend, which is perfectly fine, even though I do get offended sometimes, is we just don't talk, or we don't talk for weeks, and then it's just a, hi, how are you, how's school, blah, 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 like small talk. But one thing that I do is today during the panel with Stevie, me and Arthur realized that we had the interest, Unis honest in common. It's a YouTube series, tell you about it later. But as soon as I realized, hey, we both like Unis honest and all these video games, then we just started talking. I kind of forced him to give me his number, and I hope that after this we might talk, but if we're too busy, we might not. But it's always like taking that chance, I guess. Because I have like hundreds of phone numbers in my phone of people who I don't even talk to anymore, because I was like, hey, we have something in common. Maybe we could become friends. And then we just don't talk or whatever. And I'm like, okay. But definitely it's like one tiny little thing like that, like even just that one common interest that could potentially become a friendship if both of you are able and willing to put in that time and effort to get to know each other better and stuff like that. And it is sometimes easier to have a long distance relationship with someone who you didn't previously meet in person. Like all of my internet friends, I have never met any single one of them in real life, which is oddly easier to kind of cope with than my one friend who I met 5 years ago in person, and now we've been only able to talk on the internet since, I guess, because there's always that, oh, when am I gonna see you again? Or versus, oh, I'm gonna meet you for the first time, yay! Stuff like that. But definitely take those like little leaps, I guess. And you are gonna have to be bold, because there are some people who might be intimidated by your wheelchair, or whatever disability you have. And you also want to make sure that there are people who want to be, I'm gonna put this in quotes, friends with you. Simply so that they can say, oh, I'm friends with the kid in wheelchair, I'm friends with the kid with a disability. You have to make sure that they are people who genuinely care about you and can kind of look outside of that, I guess.
So she feels that she has to go on her way and take her attention to the needs of community.
I think we had a comment in the audience.
I'm from Brazil, and I would like to share a story, a friendship story with you guys. There in Brazil, I didn't have much resources about it, so I was diagnosed when I was 15 years old. Before that, the doctors didn't know what I had. Then I made a biopsy, and they told me I had MS. And so I asked, what is MS? I didn't know much about it. So I went to internet. I started learning English to understand better, because in English we have much more information. And then I met a friend from New York, from White Plains, New York, and her name is Velasco. And we started talking for, I don't know, for 2 3 years. And then she told me about an NN conference in White Plains, New York in 2009. And she said, okay, you can come here, you can stay in my house, we can help you. So I'm a child. My mom said, no, you are not going by yourself. I don't allow you. So I said, Mom, it's my dream to come to the United States. Since I was a little boy, I really want to come here. That's why I started learning English. And so she was like, she opened doors to me to learn more about my kids and share experiences. And she said, okay, you can come. But I didn't have resources to come. I didn't have money. So she said, okay, we'll get you a flight ticket and a hotel. She said, oh, really? Is she really afraid like that? Because she get all this? And my mom said, no, it's not real. She's not throwing the net. My mom didn't believe that. She didn't want me to come because she was afraid of it. I also was afraid. How come someone will help you with a flight ticket from Brazil from here? It's very expensive. And I was on am I going, not going. So I said, okay, I'll go. It's my dream. I want to learn more about what I have. I want to visit New York. It's my dream. So I came into 2009. I participated in this conference, Sunris, and then I met a lot of people. Some of them are still here today. I met Lisa in 2016, my second conference. So thanks to the internet and the online friendship, and she was the only friend I met with NM2 in Brazil. I don't know anyone with NM. I don't know. Many of people have it, but they don't know they have it. So thanks to the internet friendship, I'm here today. My story.
Got it.
I have a similar story, especially with my sister. We're the only 2 kids in the state and boy that have, and it's just so challenging sometimes, because our only friends are able to like, well, and I mean, I don't have that, but my sister struggles with it. And just how do you make those connections online to people that have that too?
And so this is for anybody to answer.
Well, for me, it's like, I don't know, playing video games, like somehow like messages them and I'm like becoming good friends with them, just like, I don't know, like it just somehow happens. Just like just playing video games online.
Most of it for me has happened by just pure chance, because I'm on the infamous K-pop Twitter, and there are millions of people on there, and it's literally, I see someone make a post, and then I'm like, oh, cool, and then I just have a conversation with them in the replies on social media, and then if I have a question or something, I'll be like, hey, is it okay if I private message you instead of taking up your notifications? And then we just have a conversation and we've talked ever since. And ultimately, it's kind of like actually having a real life friend. You basically just have to see someone and be like, hey, I like you. And then you just start talking. Definitely make sure there's a common interest, which is why social media is so easy, because of that secret algorithms that the FBI agent in your computer is hardwiring onto your social media. But definitely make sure to do something that you enjoy that does allow you to meet other people who are doing the exact same thing. And maybe if you have enough fun with them, you'll friend them on whatever you're doing or stuff like that. And then you can start talking and getting to know each other, maybe play or talk with them more, stuff like that. But yeah, video gaming is the way to go, especially if there's like the friend feature. And then you just start private messaging, stuff like that, or even exchanging phone numbers at some point. But it's definitely utilizing the internet and using it to your advantage to get into genuine conversations with people instead of just like, this video game sucks or stuff like that. Like, eventually you do want to try to start getting to know people, I guess. It's like when you're in an elevator with someone, hey, what are you here for? Stuff like that. Except imagine the elevator is very, very long and you don't know when your floor is gonna come up. So just try to have like your elevator pitch, like, hi, I need friends or something like that.
Other questions for our panelists? How do you approach people who are well-meaning but kind of help too much?
Honestly, one thing that you are going to encounter is that there are lots of people who are part of various organizations and groups who view it very much as they want you to do the best that you can, but then there's also that liability. My school assistant, she is very, very kind. I love her to death, but she did overstep a lot actually when I first got my wheelchair. Like, she wouldn't let kids get into 10 feet of me because she's like, she needs to get used to the wheelchair and stuff like that. But she got a bit too overprotective of me. I kind of couldn't really do much, especially during gym class. And the main thing that I had to do was I had to just straight up tell her how I felt and stuff like that. And if you do ever get into that situation where someone is well-meaning, you need to just outright explain to them, like, obviously in a respectful way, because I mean, at least they're nice, I guess. But you definitely need to say, hey, there are some things that I can do, and sometimes the things that you can do are what you need to do in order to be able to keep actually doing it. So, like, my computer, for example, if I wanted to, I could have someone write down my notes for me, but if I had someone else do that, I would lose the ability to write. So it's all about like placing very strict boundaries, no matter who they are. Well, soft boundaries. It varies from moment to moment and from person to person, but it's important to understand that they are actually well-meaning and not just like pitying, because there's just like, you can obviously tell when someone pities you and that's why they're helping you versus them wanting to actually help you. So definitely just be sure to let them know what you need and that what they are doing is not helping you actually be independent. So just lay that out to them outright, or if you're non-confrontational, just mention it offhand to someone else that you're talking to, or like rope them into a conversation, but pretend like you're not talking about them. I've had to do that a lot, especially with like other friends who are kind of pushy, but you have boundaries likely with your friends and family. It should be no different than from those who will help you. Consent is key.
So first off, I want to just like advocate to everybody that you are all your own best advocate. And so this goes for meeting friends online. This goes for people overindulging on wanting to be protective or do too much for you. It's really important that you watch out for your own safety and your own well-being. And so a few things. One, there are tons of good people out there, but just because their idea of good for them isn't your definition of good. An example of this that doesn't make me look like a rock star, but I'm going to share it, is I once got approached at a mall and somebody wanted to come up and prey on me and you know, and that was an invasion of my privacy. Now, I happen to let them do it and they didn't know I could shake my legs. So I shook my legs and they actually thought they were effective. But the point is that when they said, wow, I did something here, can I grab you and help you walk? I had to say no. I said, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. And I think that a conversation we often have, which is more, let's be frank, it's about intimacy, also falls into every aspect of our life, which is called consent. You offer consent to everybody. And just because people cannot assume that you are offering consent, you should be well practiced. And if you're not, that's okay, but continue to work that muscle of practicing saying, I need help, asking for help, giving consent to somebody when they offer to help, and being your own advocate. And it's a really important muscle, for lack of a better words here in the Congenital Muscular Dystrophy Conference, to strengthen, because you need to know that people will abuse situations, and it's not always done in malicious intent. Sometimes it comes from a place of well-intentioned manner. So what's really important is that you have the right to say no. You have the right to say, I need something different, or I don't need something at all. And so just what I would really like to say is protect yourselves, advocate for yourselves. If you need help, there's always the buddy system, which I'm going to keep echoing. But it really comes down to is that people think that I'm going to do everything for you. I would also just want to advise too, try and by strengthening that muscle, saying no to things like, many of us may still live with our parents. If you can go get that cup of water, go get that cup of water. Because it's those sort of little tiny practices that train your brain to go, I don't need to rely on everybody all the time. I can be independent. But when I need something, I'll ask. And you also want to put that divide into your friendships too. You want to be able to not just have your relationships be, dependent. You want it to go beyond that. So there are things that are non-negotiables you're going to need assistance on. And when you don't need assistance, feel empowered. Do it. Feel empowered to do things yourself, but also feel empowered to say no.
And quick note, it's almost noon. There's no such thing as ongoing or long form consent. Just because you let someone do it once does not mean that they should feel entitled to just do it again without asking. I'm especially picky about that when it comes to people touching or leaning on my chair. Because someone can lean on it once and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's okay. But then they do it again and I'm like, please don't. And they're like, what changed? And I'm like, I just don't want you touching my chair right now. It's like any other thing really in life. It's like you let someone do one thing, but then another time you're just not really feeling it. So definitely be sure to keep that boundary also very, very clear, unless you literally say to them, you can do this all the time whenever you want, stuff like that.
Yeah, if I could add, my friends, when we go to dancing or parties and yard, on the dance floor and party, right? So they'll throw their phone on my lap, and then I told them to do it one time, right? But then scenarios when they're now continuing doing it, and they don't even ask. And their phone will fall on the floor because I didn't even notice, and they put them on my lap. And I don't care because if they're on the floor, because you put them there without asking, that's not my problem. You figure it out for yourself. And I think that's important.
So it is noon, but I don't want to not let anybody speak if they still have something that they want to say. Well, thank you all for coming. This has been your Young Adult panel, put on by them too.